Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green. This is Wise Woman Television, and today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on how to transform your limiting beliefs. I first want to thank you for being a part of this community and a part of this family. I am so glad to have you here. I think it's a lot of fun. I sure hope you enjoy it. If these readings land for you or resonate for you, I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share and support this channel and for us to reach more lives. And I do want to let you know, I do offer both personal readings as well as coaching sessions to support you with these readings or to support you more generally in your life, your work, and on your spiritual path. So what we'll begin with is your 3-card pile so you can intuitively choose which one is for you. And now we will begin. Okay, card pile 1, how to transform your limiting beliefs. So it's saying right now that there is what you're being guided to recognize is the difference between conditioned self and true self. Anything that is conditioned can feel limiting, can feel constricting, can feel restraining, can make you feel held back, can make you feel small. It can also make you feel heavy. It can feel like heavy emotional energy. It can feel dense. And so what you're being guided toward card pile 1 is recognizing the energy between true self, soul self, limitless self, true nature, and conditioned self. That way you can begin to feel the difference in yourself, in your daily life experience, as to when you're operating within conditioned self or those limiting beliefs, and when you're operating within your soul nature, which is fully expressed, fully expanded, fully alive, and limitless and eternal, right? There are no limits. So, and when I was sharing this message though, there was some emotion coming up. So I'm sure that's relevant for you. You might be feeling it yourself. Perhaps it's subconscious for you, but there are things moving and shifting for you with just this awareness and this recognition of really just allowing yourself to be here, to feel this, and just to see how your body feels and see what's happening inside of you and around you as I share that the guidance here for you, card pile 1, is getting to know the part of you that is conditioned self, that is limited or feels limited, getting to know how that feels. It feels a little heavier sometimes, feels a little bit more limiting, feels a little bit more held back, small, heavier, dense, versus true self, soul self, spiritual self, okay? You're just being asked to get to know the difference because your limiting beliefs and all the things that hold you back are all within that conditioned self. The conditioned self is what carries those limitations. The other part of you, the true part of you, the soul part of you does not. Now, I do want to say what else is coming through in terms of your true self is your true self also doesn't feel limited by any seeming or apparent limitations in the physical reality. So that's something to remember as well, that the conditioned self does feel held back, does feel limited, can feel small or restricted or constrained by the physical reality, by the apparent limitations that appear in our lives, but the soul self does not feel held back by that, right? It recognizes that that isn't the whole truth, it's just part of the truth, it's the conditioned truth. It's a product of physical reality, of a life in duality on planet Earth. It is able to recognize that that's just one part of the story within this realm, that it's not the full story or the full context of what's true or what's available for you. So the first message for you, card pile 1, is getting used to the feelings of how it feels in your body when you're operating in your daily life. If you're feeling alive and expansive and you're feeling alive and expressive and infinite and full of love and able to give, that is the truth of spirit. That is your true nature. Okay, if you're feeling heavy or down or restricted or held back or limited at all, you can recognize that as just a part of the earthly experience. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing flawed here. There's no mistake. You came here for that experience. However, it's important to recognize that that is the conditioned self and therefore the limited self. It is not ultimately true. Your ultimate truth is that light, expansive nature of spirit, okay? So it's up to you to start distinguishing the difference, because how to transform your limiting beliefs, it's already coming through for you, card pile 1, is starting to recognize the difference between your conditioned self, finding distance with that so you can see it clearly and discern it clearly, and recognizing your true soul self, your spiritual nature, your eternal nature, your true nature. You can start sort of becoming unglued from that conditioned self. You're just able to see it clearly. Oh, that's my ego identity. Oh, that's my personality. That's my conditioning. Of course I feel that way. Of course my parents said that. Of course I'm carrying that on. That was a part of my lineage. Just being able to recognize it for what it is, and maybe even not laugh at it or make fun of it, but feel amused by it. Like, of course, that's how I feel about that, right? That's what I tend to believe about that particular thing, because that's my conditioned self. But just starting to have that wider view, that greater awareness, that wider perspective of, oh, this is my conditioned self. You start to sort of unravel and dissolve that glue that keeps you living within the confines of the conditioned self. Because there's no problem with the conditioned self. We came here for that. And so many people get locked up and operate exclusively within conditioned self without recognizing they can set that aside at any time, recognize it for what it is, and operate in the nature of the true self. So let's take a look at these cards so you can get a feel for what I'm feeling and seeing here. Conditioned self, dark, heavy, gray, dense, dull energy, limitation. That's not what the card says, but that's the message that I'm getting. It's just anything that feels dull, dark, heavy, defined, bound. That's all a result and a product of living in the plane of duality. This is true self. Look at the difference in these energies. Feel the difference in these energies. That's what you're getting used to and starting to understand. How to transform your limiting beliefs. Recognize that your beliefs live here in this realm. They might be relevant to your conditioned reality. They're not ultimately true. You can choose to operate in this beingness, and this is where you will create more of the magic, miracles, wealth, whatever it is that you deeply desire from your soul. But again, it doesn't ever feel limited. It doesn't even feel limited by impoverished conditions. So we have to remember that it feels invulnerable, and thus it doesn't always mean that it's always going to go out there and just do anything limitless just for the sake of being limitless. It doesn't feel like it's not limited now, okay? But getting to know this part of yourself and starting to operate in that space that you can recognize when you're operating here, because all of your beliefs and limitations exist here. So you can set that aside and make decisions and choices from this place, from your eternal nature, and that is going to support you to free yourself from any limitations or limiting beliefs that you currently walk with and carry. Now, it is saying that a lot of your limiting beliefs, pile one, and this probably goes for the other piles too. I'm going to make that assumption because that's how conditioning works and that's how all of this works. But especially if you card pile one, there's a reason it's coming up for you. A lot of your limiting beliefs, most of our limiting beliefs, they come from our past, so our family, even past lives. So we've inherited this worldview. We've inherited this perception of limitation. We've inherited it from our own family and ancestors and their experiences and all the limiting experiences and the experiences of scarcity or poverty or limitation or whatever it is that they experienced. We carried it on. We carried it on our DNA. We can get support to transform, to heal, and clear that in shamanic work. I'm currently in a shamanic apprenticeship now. I finish at the end of the year, and then I will be able to provide these services as well. And I even do now. I'm 11 months in, and there are plenty of other shamanic practitioners out there to get the support that you need to do this work if this is something that you feel like is relevant and necessary for you. It isn't necessary to have shamanic work to transform your limiting beliefs, but it is saying for you, pile one, you are being influenced by your past, by your history, even previous lives. If you resonate with past lives, there are it might be relevant for you to explore those ties as well. And again, you can do that with energy work, shamanic work, akashic work, past life regression work, and any other modality that lands for you, comes up in your life in reality after this reading. That would be the manifestation of being able to support you that you would say yes to. All of that said, though, you can just recognize that this is an influence in your life and start to get used to and start being able to recognize what is limiting for you. And as you're doing that and coming into greater awareness of true self, true nature, and becoming more limitless and really operating from that space, it's going to become clear what is a limitation. You're going to be able to recognize that that's the past. It's a reflection of the past. It's a ghost that's still haunting you, that is no longer relevant, that really has no life. It's a ghost. It's not even real. It's only real to the extent that we give it clout, that we give it weight, that we give it power. It's saying you have the power to move on, to carry on, cheerio, right? Terrible accent, but you have the power to move on, to carry on, and to leave all of this karmic debris behind you, because it's irrelevant and it's just things that were inherited or believed because there was a certain experience in your childhood or in your past where you came to believe it is real, but it no longer has to be real. And maybe it was real for a time, right? I've even said as human, my human Errity, and I've heard from clients and loved ones and so on and so forth, but it did happen. Like, it's not that it's not real, it happened. It did happen, but it doesn't have to happen anymore. You can free yourself of the past. Again, it's a ghost. The only place it exists anymore is in your memory. And thank God we have a memory. And yet we don't have to attach ourselves to that memory and make it become more of an influence or carry more weight than it has to, because we are now in the present moment. That has passed, that has already carried on, right? This has already happened for our ancestors in our past lives. It's no longer relevant. If anything, all you're meant to carry is the wisdom gained. So if there's something to integrate, allow that to be how it carries forward within you. Let it be a gift that you carry with you. Transform the energy, let it serve you, and then let anything else go that does not serve, right? Because we do learn wisdom from our experiences and limitation. That's why we're here on planet Earth. Great. Learn that wisdom, gain that gem, carry that gift with you. Excellent. And move on into greener pastures. Move on into the space of limitlessness, where more potential awaits for you to be able to explore, that is not aligned with just the old limitations, the old beliefs, the old identity, and all that stuff that is locked up within the conditioned self. Most people, for them to feel truly actualized and fulfilled, have to enter this space of new potential to fully feel fulfilled, to feel alive, right? To feel actualized, they have to enter this space. Most people are not going to find fulfillment in the conditioned self space. They're going to feel like their life never kind of came to fruition. They're going to feel like something's missing. They're going to feel gray and numb and empty and dull. They're going to just feel like something isn't quite right, or they're not complete, because it isn't, because we came here to experience heaven on earth, right? To operate as this in the land of duality. Okay, so you're being asked to move on, to carry on, to leave all that stuff behind you, because it's saying you do want something, right? There is something that you want that exists in this realm. It does not exist in this realm. So card pile 1, you're wanting something, you're wanting to create something, achieve something, experience something that really wasn't a reality for you in your younger years or your previous identities, that happens to be outside of the possibilities of even maybe your family and ancestry, or even your past lives. It might be something that you haven't yet experienced. So let me give you some examples. If your family, and even as a child, you didn't witness your parents be able to experience a loving and fulfilling partnership, that would be the reality that you then carry on into this lifetime if you were just to stay within your conditioned self. It's also a limiting belief that it's not possible to find love that truly honors you, that's truly compatible with all that you desire and yearn for. But this is saying outside of the conditioned self, it does exist. So you have to step outside of this conditioning, recognizing it as a limitation, owning your true self. And your true self says it exists, it does. And first of all, true self is limitless and infinite, so everything exists. So you can call in whatever you want when you're operating from this space and really believing in it and owning in it. And that's what's being asked of you right now, is to step into that space, because what you want does want you. If you're wanting success, if you're wanting to create more wealth, if you're wanting to create more joy and fulfillment and aliveness, health, whatever it is that you want is available to you, but you're not going to find it in here. It's not going to be within the confines of your conditioned self or your past reality. It's going to come from true self. So learning to operate within, make decisions from this space is going to be your biggest key to freedom than anything else. Okay, how do you find that key? How do you find this space? It's by taking time away, creating space for quiet, stillness, meditation, mindfulness. Meditation can be both focused meditation, you're focused on a mantra, you're focused on an image, you're focused on the light of a candle. It can also be open-ended, where you're there and you're just being, and it's a wide open meditation experience, right? You're not focused on anything in particular. You're just observing and witnessing anything sensation-wise, thought-wise, or otherwise that enters your reality and environment, right? You're just being there and being with anything that happens to arise. That's more open-ended meditation. Mindfulness is just savoring the moment. You know, really taking a moment to look at the chocolate that you're going to eat, to smell it, to enjoy it, to engage with it, to then put it in your mouth and savor it and chew it slowly, right? Obviously, you can apply that to your other experiences in your life, but the point is, how do you get from operating within limited, conditioned self into limitlessness, true self? How do you find that distinction aside from just paying attention every day? It's finding that time away, that stillness, the meditation, the mindfulness, where those old ties begin to soften, right? You just like, it's very sticky. We can feel very confined in this limited identity, and over time, with meditation, with stillness, whatever, with contemplation even, we're able to separate ourselves from that old identity, see it for what it is, and then we're able to distinguish as to which one is operating at which time. And then we can identify and occupy this version of us, this reality, as opposed to the conditioned reality. Because again, we're not going to get what we want when we're operating with the confines of our conditioned self. So take that time away, create that space for yourself so you can start to unglue that stickiness, that really attached connection to that identity, so you can start to see things clearly and make choices from a more aligned and powerful space. Okay, so again, getting to know how you feel, getting to know oranges is from apples. Okay, to each step you take, every moment that you experience, the choice and decision you make, start seeing how it feels, and with your meditation and mindfulness behind you, already having a strong foundation of just getting to know yourself there and starting to create space and discernment with yourself, you're going to get to a position where you can determine conditioned self from soul or spirit or true nature. You're going to be able to start seeing the difference and distinguish the difference, and it's being recommended that you do that. Create the space, be slower and more mindful with your choices so you can start to feel into, is this reflective of my conditioning? Is this reflecting any limitations or limiting beliefs? Is this reflecting any dense, heavy, dark, or constrained or restricted energy? If it's coming from that place, it's coming from a place of limitation, and thus your conditioned self, coming from a limited belief somewhere inside of you. And again, you can do work to support yourself to clear and transform that energy, but what also transforms and clears that energy is just making the new choice. Over time, that whatever that was holding you back, right, becomes a memory, it becomes a ghost, and then it disappears altogether. Sometimes, though, it's easier to get that energy work as a good foundation, that clean slate to get you going. It helps build some momentum for you, and it might be a little bit easier. And you can transform the old just by affirming the new, on and so forth, continuing to align with and make decisions from this place. What happens? You're able to experience your full potential. So essentially what we're seeing here, right, this is the conditioned self. The combination of these two things isn't that you just be this person, right? You're just spirit, right? That's enlightenment, or that's passing on and ascending into the heavenly spiritual realms and plane. We're not trying to die tomorrow. What we're trying to do is embody your true nature into the human. So the human experience, the ego identity, is infused with, permeated by soul spirit, and such you are able to then experience all that a human has to offer that is fully embodied by its true nature, where you really own and claim and express all those your true self, your true nature, and then life is more vibrant. The experiences of joy and bliss are not only available but ever present. You know, you're creative, you're able to tap into spirit for all the moments of your life, whether you're creating something as an artist, or creating something in your business, or you're having a conversation with a friend. You're able to essentially operate as the higher self, the true self, the soul, within the human experience. And that's the ultimate, that is enlightenment, right? That's the ultimate experience as a human. You're able to be here, heaven on earth, embodied as a human. So it's like still using your human. You're not leaving it behind, but it becomes your tool essentially on this earth, right? We're going to walk around in bodies. We're not going anywhere in that regard anytime soon. But card pile 1, in terms of transforming your limiting beliefs, it's about identifying and aligning more with this part of you so that this can enter and become a part of your everyday reality, such that you essentially become the quantum human. Amazing, card pile 1. Sounds fantastic. So if this reading lands for you, card pile 1, I encourage you to like and subscribe, share, I'd also love to hear your stories below in the comments. If you'd like to contribute to this channel, you can do so. The details are below. I do offer both personal readings as well as coaching sessions to support you to bring these readings to life, as well as to support you more generally in your life, in your work, and on your spiritual path. So thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2, we're talking about transforming your limiting beliefs, okay? All right, so there is something here about, how do I want to describe this, right? We gotta articulate energy and impressions, and sometimes I don't have the words. Okay, so there's an opportunity here. Again, this reminds me a little bit of card pile 1, but starting to recognize when something's coming from soul or spirit or truth or true nature, and when something is coming from limited ego identity, limitation, constriction, restriction, heavy, dense, dull, these lower quote unquote vibrations, okay? Because that just gives you an idea as to what is conditioned, or of the conditioned self or the conditioned reality, which is earth, the plane of duality, so on and so forth, and what is true, ultimately true of spirit, right? What is limitless and infinite. So just starting to distinguish between one or the other. What is heaven sent and what is untrue? What is ultimately true? What is coming from soul and spirit, oneness and all? And what is coming from your conditioned self? And I'm actually going to share this card just because it helps with the visual. This is actually from card pile 1, but I think it helps give a little bit of an awareness to the distinction between the energies. Is, you know, and don't pay attention to what it says here because I'm reading actually from the picture and the energies that I'm getting. But, you know, imagine living with this kind of energy where things feel a little bit denser, a little bit duller, a little bit more empty. You know, this is more of the limited self, the conditioned self, the chains of the past lives and ancestral patterns and stuff like that. This is more of being in touch and in tune with your true nature, with your essence, knowing what is heaven sent and knowing what is more of the conditioned self or the limited self. So card pile 2, in terms of transforming your limiting beliefs, it's going to be relevant for you to start being able to discern what is true and what is untrue, what comes from conditioned self and what comes from infinite self or true nature or ultimate truth. Now, a part of what wants to come through though for you uniquely, card pile 2, which we did not hear in card pile 1, so this starts to become a little bit different here, is helping you discern, card pile 2 specifically, so I'm going to talk about why this might be relevant for you, is what is most relevant usually in terms of like what is most connected to divine will, what is most connected to truth or ultimate truth, usually has to do with what I call the one, the whole, and the all, okay? If something is specific to one person and meets the needs of one person or gives over something to just one person, typically that is of the conditioned reality, the conditioned self, the limited self. More often than not, I'm tempted to say all the time, always, every time, 100% of the time, that divine will, truth, God, great spirit, universe, true self, true nature, essence, the eternal, it tends to align with the one, the whole, and the all. So if you are challenged to know what is limiting you or what is holding you back or what isn't true, you can start to look at what tends to just serve self and self alone or the ego identity, and what tends to serve all. Because there are plenty of things in our lives that serve both us and the all. They serve the one and the all, the one and the whole. They serve all people and just us. Okay, so it's kind of, I think it's pretty clear, but I know for some people it might be more difficult. And so some of you might tend to operate or have operated in the past. Some of you have seen it happen outside of you, and some of you do operate like this. So you have to apply it to your unique circumstance based on where you're at, and just be honest and transparent with yourself. You're here and you're here to learn. And so if you tend to operate I, me, mine, and that's what it's coming down to. Do you operate with I, me, mine, or the one, the whole, and the all? So that's card pile 2. What you're being asked to learn to distinguish between is, if it is, ironically, it can be a limitation if you are always operating in I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, 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 I, me, mine, I, me, mine. I'm getting survival mode for some of you. Survival mode is very much I, me, mine. How can I take care of myself? How can I ensure my survival? How can I make sure I pay my bills? How can I, right? You're unable to truly tap into the one, the whole, and the all because you're focused on I, me, mine. I, me, mine. And that's why we have Maslow's pyramid, right? If you don't know about that, look it up on Google, Maslow's pyramid. This is Psychology 101. You learn about that most often middle school, high school, or college in Psychology 101, the introductory. And it's all about those stages of human development where that very first step is meeting your biological and physiological needs, ensuring that you are taking care of food, shelter, sex, warmth, etc. Those things are essential. If those things aren't met, it's very difficult to climb your way up the ladder to ultimately self-realization or self-actualization, okay? So this bottom rung does need to be filled and does need to be supported. Survival needs to be ensured for the human to fully realize and self-actualize. So it's no wonder that, and it's not a problem that, there's no judgment here that if you are on that bottom rung of the ladder of I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine to ensure your own survival. It's not saying there's anything wrong with that. We are on the human plane where we do have to survive, right? And that's the first rung on the ladder. It's not like we can bypass it. However, it's saying if you want to know what's been limiting for you, card pile 2, if you chose this, it has been that you've been in a pattern of I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. And from that place, it becomes a limitation because you're unable to tap into the one, the whole, and the all. You're unable to tap into the other. You're unable to tap into that essential nature, which does comprise a composite, the whole, the one, and the all. So like taking a look at my tattoo here, right? It's like if we operate even in just this dark part or just this white part or just a limb on the branch of the tree or just a root, we're really not embodying the whole. We can't become aware of it because we're completely identified with and limited by our own ego identity, our unique filter, just us on our own. We're only seeing with our 2 eyes. What's required to unlimit yourself and support yourself to see a grander perspective, a wider perspective? What's required for you to transform your limiting beliefs, card pile 2, is stepping outside of I, me, mine. You can find ways, and we're going to find out there's other ways that you're being guided toward. Card pile 1 was very much guided with a very specific tool. And if that lands for you, I would encourage you to go watch that. It might have some use for you, but we'll see how the rest of your reading goes. But essentially, card pile 1, you are being asked to step out of I, me, mine and to step into the one, the whole, and the all. Find ways to step out of survival mode or ensure that your needs are met and start focusing on that. With the intention of moving beyond that, not the intention of maintaining survival, right? But whatever you need to do, is it, own yourself, your value, your power, get paid more at your job? Is it leaving your job for owning your own business? Is it whatever your bigger dream is, your greater aspirations and ambitions? It's going to be unique to you. There's nothing specific actually coming through in this regard except for learning to step out of survival mode, which is often more so a state of being than it is any particular life path. However, you're being encouraged to find a way to be able to step out of that and be able to see from a different viewpoint, because I, me, mine has so far limited you in your life, okay? Now, it is saying that there's been some wounding in the past that has led you here. So there might have been times in the past where you lived in very much real scarcity, you were in poverty, maybe even abusive situations, or maybe in need as a child or as a young adult, and so you've carried this with you, whatever that is for you uniquely, where you've come to believe that there's not enough, I gotta get it, there's not enough, I gotta get it, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. And so it's put you in this habit that is actually no longer relevant for you. You don't have to stay here. It's saying you can let this go. You can let this one go. This is actually a pattern that was put in place or ingrained as a child or through a number of experiences to where you came to believe that you had to focus on you and you alone just to get by, and you have to do it all, and you got to do this and you got to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a very linear focus, no matter what your focus is, you're limiting yourself because you're not able to see all of this, right? So again, there's nothing wrong with ensuring your own survival and focusing on I, me, mine. But if you came to this card pile 2 and this video is about transforming your limiting beliefs, your primary limitation has been in the I, me, mine zone, which also can be considered at times, and for some people, that survival mode. And when you're just focused on that. Now, some people, though, I will say, are more on the side of not just survival, but gratuitous or into excess or hedonism, where it's like they always got to get theirs, and they're out there seeking the thrill, they're seeking the high, they're seeking the drug or the person or the sex or whatever, such that they're always just like, what's in it for me? Give me more. Very selfish or self-centered. Again, no judgment here. You get to use this human body and this human life however which way you want it. But if you're here and you want to transform your limitations, and that lands for you more so, then that would be your path. You're being asked to look at other. You're being asked to shift from taking to maybe even giving. You're being asked to opening up and availing yourself to a bigger picture than just you. So you're no longer the sun in your galaxy or your universe. You're just one of the planets, and everyone's kind of revolving around the sun, and you start to see things from a bigger picture and a bigger context. And again, this pattern, though, supported you in some ways at some point. It's not like it's just oh, whatever, like you made a bad choice and you just became this way and it was really random. It's a matter of something set this in, something was set and there was a stage set as a result of something that happened to you, or a series of things that happened to you where you felt like this had to be your focus in order to get your needs met, or in order to feel loved, or in order to be supported. It wasn't met anywhere else, so you got into this habit of doing it in this way, and this is where you've come from and why you're here now. So there's nothing wrong with it, but if you're here to transform that, that's how you're going to do it. Now, it is saying that there's some patience that's required with this process. I do want to even pull a clarifier card on the patience. Right. So there is, an opportunity here again for subconscious healing, for deeper insights coming through, for you to become aware of some of these patterns. This might be the first time you're hearing about this. I think for some of you that is the case. You're kind of recognizing, holy crap, like I have been just seeing from my own two eyeballs. Like I've literally just been focused on myself my whole life. Wow, that's actually true. So some of you are experiencing this for the very first time and hearing this for the very first time. And so there's this guiding, gentle message of having compassion for yourself, creating space for yourself to just witness yourself for a while. Look at your days and how you operate and your choices and how you tend to focus on primarily yourself, or focus on your needs, or focus on survival, or focusing on the next high or the next thrill or whatever, and how you can fill your void. Just start to take a look at how you really own and focus on I, me, mine, and how you're not able to then, or you neglect that focus on the one, the whole, and the all. Focusing on other people, focusing on what's best for the bigger picture, what's best for the highest good, or what is the highest good, looking at the greater good. You might be someone who's never even considered those things, and if you have considered those things, clearly you just haven't been able to fully embody that. And so your particular limitation is focusing on I, me, mine, how to transform that. Anything that aligns with that is probably not the transformation. It's going to be what aligns with the one, the whole, and the all. Now again, it's giving you a specific tool here. And that is, if you're seeing from the eyes of judgment, you're seeing from limitation. If you're seeing from the eyes of judgment, card pile 2, you're seeing from limitation. When you can release judgment and step into neutrality, understanding, acceptance, compassion, empathy, right? It's asking you to learn empathy, learn about other, connect with other, understand other. When you're able to do that, you're actually releasing judgment and you're releasing limitation from your life. Like you might have come here to release limitation for you so you can acquire something or aspire toward a goal or get yourself out of a rut or out of an old pattern. And it's interesting because it's saying that your transformation though is actually about other, and it's about empathy and compassion and understanding and acceptance and neutrality and freeing yourself from judgments. Because what happens by judgment, it's not just like, oh, that girl is this and that, or that guy is this, said this. It's not like judgment in that way. It's like anything that we see and immediately identify, or anything that we see or identify as wrong or right, anything that we see and immediately give a label to, that's all judgment. So learning to step into the observer point of view that just allows things to happen, sees everything in front of it more neutrally, and then can make a choice or a decision, that is where you want to begin to learn to make choices from. That observer, right? The inner observer, as opposed to, or the witness, the inner witness, that's another one, as opposed to I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, or from judgment, right? So you're learning to step away from that, to find the witness inside of you, to find the inner observer inside of you, and then to even be able to lock in or be able to begin to align with understanding, compassion, empathy. That's going to support you to unlimit yourself. The irony of that, right? Because what happens, you're able to actually connect to your heart more deeply. It's so interesting. We talked about the galaxy, and we have looked at the whole galaxy behind her. Okay, so I do not find that to be coincidental, but you're able to tap into your heart, your true nature, your true essence, as opposed to your limited ego identity or limited nature. Okay, so for those of you who have always operated in survival mode, or I, me, mine, or gimme, 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 those kinds of things, you weren't truly tapped into your heart. You were tapped into the void, the wounding inside of you, the part of you that needed something, the part of you that never got something, the part of you that feels like it's not going to survive if, all of that stuff, which is all a reflection of the past. You're being asked to let that wound go. Okay, again, creating space for whatever needs to come up, so you can look at your childhood, look at your woundings, look at your traumas, look at your old pains, see how some of these things might be contributing to this pattern for you, if it's something you do in fact want to let go of. And it's about, for you, card pile 2, connecting with your heart. Again, connecting with compassion, empathy, love, others, the one, the whole, and the all. Learning to step out of I, me, mine, gimme, 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 take, 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 all of those kinds of more self-centered energies, and connect with other and align with other. This is where you're going to find freedom. Now, the bottom says guidance. I'm seeing more of this card as freedom. You're able to spread your wings and soar, and you don't, you're not feeling so anchored and focused and centered on just I, me, mine, gimme, 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 survival, whatever it is, whatever that version of that story has been in play for you. You discover wings where you're able to soar and be, your more highest, truest, actualized self. This is where you find your freedom. This is where you are unbound by limitation. So card pile 2, yours is all about stepping outside of I, me, mine, and learning to connect with the one, the whole, and the all, and align your choices and decisions with the one, the whole, and the all, with other, with compassion, forgiveness, understanding, outside of judgment, stepping into acceptance, neutrality, empathy, and other. So that's your reading, card pile 2. I thank you for watching. If this resonated for you, I encourage you to like, subscribe, share. There's also ways to contribute to this channel if you so feel inspired. I also want to let you know I do offer both personal readings as well as coaching sessions to support you with this reading, as well as to support you more generally in your life, in your work, and on your spiritual path. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3. This is on transforming your limiting beliefs. So, I just love all these. Like, look, card pile 1 and card pile 2 got very similar cards. This is card pile 1, this one's yours, but very similar meanings. So it wants you to see yourself as the ultimate creator of your life. So card pile 3, anything that tells you that you're not the ultimate creator and source of your own life is a limitation. So yes, you get a choice. Yes, you get a decision. Yes, you get to decide how your life looks. You get to decide what anything about your life, what your life looks like, what your life path looks like, how you actualize your dreams. If you actualize your dreams, if you want something bigger, if you want something smaller, if you want something here, if you want something there, if you want something red, you want something green, Dr. Seuss, you get to do it all right? It's saying you are the ultimate creator of your life, and anything else in the way of that is the illusion. That's the untruth, that's the limitation. Card pile 3, how are you transforming your limiting beliefs? By owning and taking responsibility for your life fully, meaning owning yourself as your own creator, like really owning that, anchoring into that you are your own creator, that you get to be a co-creator of this life, that you get a say, that you can decide how near or far, up and down, back and forth you go, right? Let's keep on doing Dr. Seuss, I think it's fun. or not you go. Like, you get to decide how this works, and you get to be the creator of your life. Anything that says otherwise is the untruth. And it wants to tell you here too that everything is not always as it seems. Okay, there's a couple different meanings to this card. Like, you can, again, I feel like that sense of new beginning, or even the Fool in the Tarot, where it's about like starting anew. There's a new adventure here. Like, you can go out there and be like that sacred fool, or the Fool in the Tarot, where it's like you're going out there sort of almost even naively, like a child with all this innocence, and you're starting anew, and you're coming from this place of, I know that I'm the ultimate creator of my life. It's really owning that energy of you get to say, right? That you get to decide how far you go, how big you take it. And anything else would be the lie. Now, this also, what else wants to come through here is not everything is as it seems, meaning when you see limitation before you in the physical realm, in your life, when you're experiencing things that feel limiting, or that feel scarce, or that feel lacking, or whatever that makes you feel like it's a limitation, please know that everything is not as it seems. It's saying to you right here, the guidance for you, card pile 3, is letting you know that just because it appears a certain way in your physical reality does not mean it's the ultimate truth. You're being asked to look behind the curtain at the truth, which is you are the ultimate creator of your life. You get a choice here. You get to partner with God, Great Spirit, Cosmos, Spirit, Universe. You get to partner with God, Great Cosmos, Spirit, Universe, and do whatever you want to do in your life, okay? Obviously, we're going to align with, we talked about this in card pile 2, the one, the whole, and the all. That's divine will. It's not just going out there doing whatever the heck you want. However, watch card pile 2 if that resonates. But it is saying that anything that feels limiting, anything that sounds limiting, anything that right before you that is limiting is not everything is as it seems. In fact, you get to decide how far you take this, how big you go. All right? So that's the first message for you, because it sounds like you've struggled. You've had an inner conflict with yourself about allowing yourself to go big, or allowing yourself to allow yourself like limitlessness. Like, You tend to hold back. You tend to limit yourself. You tend to say, oh, never mind, I don't need that. Or you know what, I'll take this instead. Or I'll settle for less. Or you know what, I'll compromise on that. Or, you know, never mind, I don't really need this, whatever, right? You have your way of sort of not allowing yourself to receive and not allowing yourself to experience the full realm and range of possibility and potential in this life. You have a tendency to say, you know what, I'm going to keep it small, or I'm going to keep it simple, or I'm going to keep it down here because blah, 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 right? You have a million and one reasons. The reasons for you uniquely are going to be different for each of the people who will watch this, but you find your reasons and you have your justifications and rationalizations and so on as to why you need to limit yourself. Please know that is not true. Everything is not as it seems, and that you get to decide ultimately, of course, with aligning and partnering with God, Great Spirit, Universe, your own soul and beingness, being completely honest with yourself too at all times. You get to decide how this goes and how big this goes and what this looks like. You're the person who decides that you get to receive. You're the person who decides that you get to go big or go home. You're the one who decides what your life looks like, what your home looks like, where you live, what car you drive, what job you have, who you surround yourself with, what meal you're going to make tonight, how you're going to decide to operate today, if you take time for yourself, if you decide to shower. It's going to seem like a lot of things are in your way, that a lot of those things aren't possible. There's a lot of obstacles. That is density, okay? That is physical limitation, and it is not ultimately true. Everything is not as it seems. Because all those examples that I just gave, which just streams right through, which means they're relevant for all of you who are listening, that you do get to decide those things. Did you notice? And I started hearing excuses. So that means that for those of you who are watching, you're finding all the excuses and reasons as to why you can't have that job, or why you can't move, or why you can't have that house, or why you can't launch that business, or why you can't make that money, or why, blah, blah, blah. You know, all those excuses started pouring in. And I was hearing like, well, I don't have enough time, and I have to take care of so-and-so, and I have to get that job in. And they said the project had to be in by this certain time, and blah, 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 blah. You're fighting yourself. That's just you. That's you fighting your own limitations, right? And it's not true. It's not ultimately true. That you do get the decision, but you have to be the one to make the decision and validate yourself. And you have to be the one to value yourself. Okay, so card pile 3, how are you transforming your limiting beliefs? You're recognizing that any limitation that is in your life or reality, or things that you use as excuses as to why you can't do things or experience things or receive things, that it's all untrue, and that you can decide to align with what's ultimately true, which is you get to decide how much you experience in your life. Do you live a big life? Do you live a small life? Do you middle life? A middle life? Do you live over here? Do you live over there? Right? So you get to decide all those things and then own that decision. So if you are living an experience of limitation, you now get to own that and take full responsibility and say, I'm choosing that. Now that I know I can do anything, if I choose limitation, I'm choosing limitation, but let me own it. That no one's doing this to me. Life didn't do this to me. Jesus didn't do this to me. My kids didn't do this to me. My hubby, my boss, my this, my that. You're doing it to you. Okay, and that's like the message here, is that taking full responsibility so you can to not only choose your life, but to then own your decisions. And if any limitations exist in your life hereafter, it's because you're actively choosing them. And then if you want to transform that, you get to make a new choice and line up your then choices and decisions and behaviors and actions along with that choice so that your life then becomes transformed. So card pile 3 of all the piles, you are your own worst enemy. You're getting in your own way, right? You're creating the limitations for yourself because you're saying that you can't do blank and you can't do A and you can't do C, when in fact you do have the choice, even though it doesn't seem like it. And a lot of this is you fighting with yourself and not wanting yourself to receive, right? It's all these other things, like you're telling yourself it's all these other things, but ultimately it has to do with yourself not allowing yourself to receive. So let's see what else it has to say. Other people want to help you. Other people want to give to you. Other people want to love you. So card pile 3, spirit, God, universe, etc., etc., etc. It can only give through you, through other people, and if you say yes. Okay? You can't receive the wealth. You can't receive the abundance, the big house, the here, the there, all the things that we've been talking about, if you're not willing to say yes, if you're not willing to ask for support, if you're not willing to enlist people and your family and your loved ones and your community, if you're not willing to ask for help or receive support or say yes, Life is possible, life is doable, but you most likely will not experience or achieve that big life or the bigger visions or whatever it is that you desire for yourself, because those things are possible. Life wants you to receive, and it's saying we want you to receive love, we want you to receive wealth, we want you to receive all that is infinitely available, because that's the ultimate truth. And whatever you put your eye on, you can have and you can experience and you can share. And yet, you have to be willing for other people to take a role in your life and participate and engage with you and lock arms with you and do the thing with you, okay? Just being the person who gives, or just being the person who does all the things, or just being the person who doesn't ask for help, that's not going to get you to these greater dreams or deeper visions. And honestly, at the end of the day, you just want love, just like anybody, right? We all want to feel loved. That's ultimately what it's all about. But that's not going to be possible if you aren't letting people in. It's not going to be possible if you are fighting everyone from giving to you. It's just simply not going to be possible. Essentially, card pile 3, you distance yourself from the things that you desire, the things that you really wish for and really want for, or really think that's possible for you. Like, you know, there's a lot out there for you, and yet you don't allow yourself to have it. Okay, you distance yourself from it, you fight yourself about it, you make all these excuses to why it can't happen, but at the end of the day, you're just not allowing yourself to receive. So you want to look at that gap above and beyond anything as to why you're disconnecting yourself from being able to receive, why you believe yourself to not be worthy, and just take a look at that. Once you acknowledge that and you know that's what's holding you back, which is what this reading is for, it's saying you're holding yourself back through not allowing yourself to receive and not taking full responsibility for your life and the choices that you're making and the life that you're creating before you. So to transform those limitations, you have to take full responsibility for your life, own your choices and decisions, and make choices and decisions which align with your bigger dreams and visions, and that align with you being able to receive something. Okay? Right. So again, this has to do with, you know, you juggling all the balls and doing all the things. And honestly, what I'm feeling for this card, it's like juggling all the ideas and thoughts and rationalizations and excuses and limitations, and just going over and over and over again in your head about it. And then it's not, some of it's not even real. It's just the story that you are telling yourself. Now, stories are always relevant to something that happened in the past. They don't just come out of thin air. They're because something happened to you, or you internalized something, or you experienced something. And then as a result, these stories play out, but they play out for long decades and eras of time, kind of playing out into the rest of your life, even though it's no longer relevant, even though the story is long since expired. So it doesn't mean it came out of thin air, but it does mean you get the choice to carry it or not. And it's saying, instead of holding all these balls and juggling all these ideas and thoughts and limitations and justifications for why you should limit yourself, right? All that stuff that we talked about earlier, and fighting yourself so hard, let yourself receive the bounty that was always yours. Let yourself receive the harvest that is yours. Let yourself receive what Spirit wants to give to you, okay? Because there's this gold here. I always see this card. It says inspiration. But how I see this card, especially for this reading, you know, she has this full bounty of flowers, and I always see bees and honey as bounty, as harvest, as sweets, right? It's like, you know, it's the riches and the abundance of earth. All of this stuff wants to come to you. Gold, wheat, all that stuff wants to come to you. There are riches of this earth, riches of this life, riches of this experience, riches of your everyday. All the abundance is always readily available in your experience, and yet you distance and deny yourself from it and say you can't have it because A, because B, because C, but at the end of the day, you are ultimately in control of your life. You get to make these decisions. Maybe you couldn't as a child. Maybe you were left out as a child. Maybe those things didn't happen for you then, but you as the adult and the creator of your life, you and the authority of your life, you get to decide now. So now that you know those are all stories and limitations and excuses, you can stop fighting yourself and you can allow yourself to receive. You can let all this stuff go and say, you know what? These limitations will no longer stand. These practical pieces that I make to be excuses will no longer stand. I'm going to allow myself to receive. Okay? You can do that. The bounty or abundance is here. Now, I do want to pull a clarifier card, though, on... I went to pull a clarifier card and I missed one card in the thing. So this is about... Okay. So some of you in card pile 3 keep yourself from experiencing like the riches of the earth and the wealth that's available for you and like the big dreams and bigger visions and dreams and stuff because you feel like it's not spiritual or it's not right, or you hold on to these ideals that, you know, whether it be humility or servitude or, you know, siding with the people in terms of, well, not everybody has this and not everybody gets supported and not everybody gets fed and all these problems of the world, right? You might get caught up in sort of that world savior or martyrdom kind of ideology or philosophy, and it's saying that you can be in the world and experience what's available for you here right now, because you do know this and you can make these choices without being of the world. You can be here and experience what life has to offer here for you without playing the same games and doing things the same way and making the same choices and decisions that everyone else is doing. Just because you're here and just because this is the kind of person you are, you can fully trust yourself, and like, it's okay for you to receive. Like, if anyone's going to receive, it should be you. And there's just this reminder of, you can experience all that's here. Look, you can let go. You can dance with life. You can enjoy life. You can take pleasure in this life. You can receive in this life. All that is here for the taking, for the receiving, for the experiencing, for the having. Like, you can experience that, and you can still maintain your beliefs and your values and honor your word and all the things that are really important to you in terms of, like, you don't want to deceive, and you don't want to corrupt, and you don't want to make bad choices, and you don't want to hurt or harm anyone. You can make smart, wise choices, and you can bring things into greater consciousness that won't perpetuate the same old systems that you aren't happy with on this planet, okay? You can honor yourself without honoring the old systems and perpetuating the same old systems, okay? And a part of your path, it sounds like and feels like, is, and you can see her kind of jumping up and out, is breaking through and or like freeing and liberating yourself from these old beliefs or these old systems. And part of you, part of this path, or like the result of you freeing yourself and liberating yourself from these old limitations, is actually going to support the greater collective, the global shifts in consciousness, so on and so forth. By you liberating yourself from these old chains and old limitations and living true to your infinite self as opposed to your finite self, that actually supports the freeing of all, the liberating of all. It doesn't support the old systems of limitation, holding people back and people getting hurt, and systems that corrupt and deceive, and so on and so forth. You liberating yourself from limitation and identifying with the infinite and your true nature and your limitlessness, that's going to support more of the upgrading consciousness and the greater world experience that you seek and want to create and co-create on this planet than anything else that you could do. So you get permission to free yourself. And I was going to ask if there's any specific tool that you can use card pile 3 and shifting this. So, right, I want to get a practical tool. Both card pile 1 and card pile 2 had them. So what I'm getting here is this: allowing yourself to follow your dreams. It no longer has to be a dream. It's not something you yearn for or long for. Start taking action on that dream. Whatever it is that you want, go for it. Start doing it. Start taking action on it. It's not someday or out there or maybe so or if I can or maybe if and if someday and so on and when I grow up and when the kids grow up. No. You start taking action on your dreams now. It's no longer a dream, it's a destiny. So you're going to start moving toward that. The next thing is actually, ironically, start sharing with others, sharing abundance with others, connecting with others, building relationships with others. There's something here about sharing, about generosity, about learning this experience of give and take with other people, learning mutual reciprocity, learning to give, but from a safe and creative place, like the part of you that wants to give, the part of you that comes from source, that knows it's infinite. So giving generously and sharing in community and sharing with others. Oh, and then the final card is also meditating, taking some time and space away from reality, the practical tasks, the things that you have to do, your roles and responsibilities and hats, and all the things that you're juggling in your life that are mostly in your head. They're real, but all the rumination and stuff, that's what weighs you down the most, is what was being said here. So you just speaking and then re-speaking and re-speaking and re-speaking your limitations. And it's saying find spaces, create spaces in your life of more quiet, stillness, peace of mind, so you can start ungluing and separating and distancing yourself from all the old stories, the justifications, the rationalizations, the arguing for and with your limitations, all of that stuff. That connection is going to dissolve some. You're going to create distance between you and those old stories so that you can step in to this harvest and this greater abundance. So take action on your dreams, share with others, learning generosity, connecting with community, and kind of experiencing what it's like to receive and to give in relationship with others, and then take space for yourself to really find some distance between true you, creator you, authority you, the one who's taking responsibility for your life and your decisions, and then all the parts of you that are anything else. So that's your card pile, your reading card pile 3. That's your reading card pile 3. Thank you for watching. If this lands for you, I encourage you to like, to share, to subscribe. You can also contribute to this channel if you're so inspired. I also offer both personal readings as well as coaching sessions to support you to bring this to life or to support you more generally in your life, in your work, and on your spiritual path. Thank you.